What is up, my YouTube home slices? This is TheKillerNacho, and I have the third battle in this series of Sun teams that I've been using. This is against PKSparkxx, a friend and common battler of mine, and I figured that his team would probably be the best way to end this series. Anyway, so he leads with a Feraligatr, which I'm pretty scared of, so I'm just going to go for the Will-O-Wisp. He goes for the Swords Dance, so it's pretty nice for me. I mean, he gets the Swords Dance off to raise his attack, yes, but with the burn, he's going to be crippled, and I don't think that thing can do a whole lot to my team. So now I go out into a Venusaur, because I'm really not looking forward to taking the predicted Earthquake, even with a burn off, just after the, Swords Dance. It's still probably, like, really strong, and he does actually decent damage to Venusaur, so that is pretty scary, and most of the time these things carry Ice Punch, so I'm like, I'm just going to finish this thing off, not going to over-predict, I just want to get rid of this guy, and I go for the Solar Beam, and I get rid of his Feraligatr right in the beginning, and that's great for me, because looking at his team, that might have been his best sweeper. PKSparkxx, as many of you know, has a interesting playstyle. He's very defensive as opposed to me. I always like to carry offense on my team. I like to beat down the opponent. PKSparkxx is exactly the opposite, which makes him a blast to play. PKSparkxx loves the stalling strategy, and that's just not good. Anyway, so he switches into Yanmega. I'm kind of afraid of Air Slash, and I know he's going to protect, so I go out into Fortress, not thinking that he has the Hidden Power Fire, but as you can see, he does. I just go to set up my Stealth Rocks, and this kind of sucks, because I was not expecting Hidden Power Fire, and looking at my team, this Yanmega can do some serious damage. So I decide to go out into Arcanine, just because I do have Flash Fire, just in case he goes for Hidden Power Fire again. He ends up going Bug Buzz, which I resist, but it still does a boatload thanks to that Life Orb. Good for me, though. I did get the Stealth Rocks off, so now I can basically scare him away with this Arcanine, which is now a Scarf Arcanine, by the way. I still carry Extreme Speed on it, basically for situations like this. Extreme Speed is always good to have a priority move, especially at +2. So I still carry it. This is now an Adamant Arcanine with Choice Scarf, which I think works in this team a little better than the Bander that I used in the previous two battles. So anyway, my Extreme Speed basically forces him to switch because he doesn't want to take Extreme Speed on a Life Orb Yanmega, obviously. So he's going to switch, and that's good for me because, you know, he'll take a boatload from Stealth Rock back on the switch-in. Anyway, he goes into Snorlax to take my Extreme Speed, and he actually takes it pretty nicely. I was surprised how nicely he does take it. He goes for the Yawn on my Switch, which Yawn's my Venusaur, and I really don't want to go to sleep on Venusaur because it is an important Pokemon on this team, so I'm just going to go out into Ninetales. He goes for the Body Slam and gets the Parahax, which is just annoying because, you know, last battle when I got Parahax on the freaking Static, and this battle I get a Parahax on the freaking Body Slam. I guess this 30% paralyzed stuff, I guess they like to be 100% for me because that's just lame. Oh well, so I go for the Will-O-Wisp, trying to burn that Snorlax because, I don't know, Snorlax is a pretty nice thing to burn. I do carry Hidden Power Fighting on this Ninetales. I was kind of contemplating going for that, but then I thought he'd switch. He ends up switching into Deoxys Defense, and he's going to set up a Stealth Rocks, which is kind of annoying because my team is kind of weak to Stealth Rocks, as we saw last video. And that stinks because I get Parahaxed, so I can't even go for the Flamethrower because I kind of wanted to go for the Flamethrower because I was thinking maybe it'll be a 2-hit KO in the sun at this point. So I go for the Flamethrower this turn. It doesn't even do that much just because Deoxys Defense is so bulky. I mean, it's obviously one of the most bulky things in the freaking metagame. The reason I didn't go for the sub, because I knew he had knockoff, kind of, and I didn't want to go for the sub just because sometimes these guys carry Taunt. It's a pretty nice Pokemon to carry Taunt on, but since he hasn't used it yet, I kind of think that this Deoxys Defense doesn't have it, which makes him actually kind of nice to set up on. I go into my Rhyperior because, yeah, Rhyperior is pretty awesome. He's going to go for the Recover, and I was kind of thinking he'd switch here, but then I was kind of thinking he wouldn't switch here, and maybe he still has the Taunt, so I'm not going to go for my, you know, my Rock Polish predicting the Taunt. He ends up staying in. I go for the Mega Horn, which is super effective and actually does some nice damage even after he knocks off my Life Orb. But now that I haven't seen the Taunt yet, I mean, everyone knows what this Rhyperior does. So if he had the Taunt, I kind of expect him to use it. So I'm going to go for the Rock Polish this turn, basically because he has to basically go for the Recover now, because otherwise I basically kill him. Dang, I just used basically like 5 times in that sentence. I am sorry. But any switch. I do get the Rock Polish off because I did predict the recover correctly, and now I'm pretty much faster than his entire team, including faster than this Deoxys, so that's pretty nice for me because now he's going to have to recover the second turn, and he's just going to set up spikes. So that's not bad for me, and I'm able to 2-hit KO this guy. And while, it might have been a 1-hit KO if I had the Life Orb at the same time, at least I'm not taking Life Orb recoil, which actually raises the survivability of my Rhyperior quite a lot. So the knockoff is kind of a bad thing because it lowers my Rhyperior's sweeping potential, but at the same time, it can be a good thing too because now he's a little more of a tank. Anyway, he goes out into Snorlax, and I just go for an Earthquake. I expected to do more. Probably would have done a lot more if it wasn't, if I had the Life Orb, but I'm not really comfortable, so I'm going to switch out because he yawns, and I don't want my Rhyperior to sleep because looking at his team, Rhyperior can be really helpful later on. I go into Ninetales, and I get completely raped by Stealth Rocks and Spikes, and yeah, now he goes out in the Latias, which I really have nothing to do against on this Ninetales. I don't even know why I was staying in. This is really dumb for me. But whatever. So I'm going to go for the sub this turn because I kind of expect him to switch into Snorlax so he can heal Snorlax with that Wish, but he ends up Calm Minding, which is terrible for me because I really have nothing to do on this Ninetales, and after I go for a sub, I won't be able to survive another switch in, so that was really bad for me, and that was a good play by PKSparkxx because now I have to switch and he's getting 2 free Calm Minds. I'm really afraid of the Psychic, but I go out into my Flower Dino anyway. He ends up going for the second Calm Mind, and I just have to hope that I hit with Sleep Powder because I don't know. I don't know what moves this guy has. If he has a Psychic, I'm completely boned. But thank God he does not. I do not miss, so I do get this thing asleep, which is going to be really helpful. I don't know really what he's going to do, so I decide to go for the Leech Seed just to get it on the Latias, maybe get some extra recovery on Venusaur and drain Latias down slightly. It's a pretty nice play. Obviously, I can't really stay in because my Solar Beams won't be doing a whole lot at this point, not to mention they resist Latias anyway, so I go out into Fortress hoping he doesn't wake up, and he does not this turn, so that's pretty nice. I do get like 3 turns of sleep on this Latias, and I really needed them, because, yeah, so now this thing is going to heal my Fortress quite a lot, which is not bad because Fortress is down pretty low after that Hidden Power Fire from Yanmega. So I'm just going to go for the Gyro Ball just to get damage. He ends up waking up and going for Wish, which is kind of sad. And Gyro Ball actually does some decent damage, and he really can't stay in against my Fortress with my pretty good special defense, not to mention he has the Leech Seed on, so I kind of expect him to switch out into Snorlax. And either way, I just want to get something back to sleep because my sleep wore off, so I'm no longer, hurt by Sleep Claws. I can sleep something else. I go for the Hypnosis, but I miss, of course, because Hypnosis always misses. I'm going to take that move off this Bronzong, I swear, one of these days. And he goes out into Snorlax to get the Wish, and that kind of stinks, because now that Snorlax is pretty healthy again. I go for the Reflect, not really sure what this guy's going to do, but a Reflect is not so bad against a physical Pokemon, and he's going to Yawn me, and at this point, I know he's probably going to go for a double Yawn, just to try to either phase me out, so he gets a bunch of damage on my entire team, and just to get something to sleep, because he can get something to sleep if he just keeps going Yawn. I go for the Hypnosis because I'm like, whatever, I'll just try to get the Snorlax to sleep too, because at this point, Bronzong is probably the best thing I have to take a sleep. I mean, I don't really need it for anything, so I decide to let Bronzong fall asleep. I go for Hypnosis and I miss again, which is annoying and stupid, but that's Hypnosis for you. I go out into Foxy Loxy because I don't know what he's going to switch into, and it was a pretty nice play because now I can just fodder it and get a switch into a counter to whatever he sends out. He ends up going into Fortress, and I go out into my Royal Pain to go just Flamethrower and obliterate that Fortress. Except I don't go Flamethrower because I totally predicted this Latias and went Ice Beam, so that was awesome for me because I do not let this Latias come back in and Wish and heal and all that other stupid stuff. He's going to go back out into Fortress thinking I'm Scarfed. PKSparkxx is still a little new to this generation. He did not know that Sheer Force hid the Life Orb, so he did not see Life Orb or Leftover, so he assumed I was Scarfed, but I am not. And that is awesome for me because I get the quick kill on the Fortress, and he only has 2 Pokemon left, I believe, Snorlax and Yanmega. I go for a Flamethrower because I'm a complete noob and forget that Snorlax has Thick Fat, so I was probably better off just going for the Stab Earth Power at that point, but whatever. I get Roar soared out, or whirlwinded actually, into Fortress. So that whirlwind is kind of bothering me because I know he can like phase out my team and do damage with his entry hazards he sets up with Deoxys defense, but I decide to predict that he'd predict that I wouldn't switch, and I go out into Rhyperior, who takes that crunch pretty nicely, all things considered, because, yeah, he's pretty bulky. Anyway, I go for the Earthquake. I know how much I did last time, and I was kind of hoping that it might be a 2-hit KO. He ends up whirlwinding me again because he's afraid of Rock Polish, and that's a pretty good move for him, so I get whirlwinded into Arcanine, which is probably the worst thing he could have whirlwinded me into, because I only had one switch on Arcanine with the spikes and the stealth rocks. So now I'm basically forced to lock myself into close combat, and I do that just because that's the only move I really feel comfortable with to KO both Snorlax and to not kill myself, obviously, with my Flare Blitz. But I do finish off Snorlax. His last Pokemon is Yanmega, which does X4 resist, but at this point I know he has Life Orb, and I don't think Yanmega really has any way to heal himself. So I mean, close combat, even with the X4 resistance, I think I can do enough damage so he can't sweep my team, worst case scenario, because of his own Life Orb. I go for the close combat. He was kind of annoyed that I was Scarfed, so Scarf kind of helps there. I don't think he had enough hit points to really sweep the rest of my team anyway, but it definitely limits his sweeping capabilities because now he can only use 2 more attacks before he dies. I go out into my Rhyperior, kind of hoping I could live a hit, but I obviously can't because Yanmega was Life Orbed and stuff. He's just going to finish me off, but he does not have enough HP to live another Life Orb hit, so that is game. So good game, PKSparkxx, and I think it was a good series. I think this was probably the funnest match I've had in the entire series. Just a long, fun match against my good friend and rival PKSparkxx. Really awesome guy to play, honestly. Really fun. Make sure you check him out. Link in the description if you haven't already. Anyway, so today's question of the day, kind of in, I don't know, in response to battling PKSparkxx, is what is your favorite wall? PKSparkxx seems to like a lot of them. In fact, he said I think his favorite was that annoying vulture thing that he didn't even use in this battle. But, yeah, that caused me problems the first time I played him in Gen 5, so pretty nice wall thing. I mean, as for my favorite wall, I don't know. Like, I don't really like walls too much. I mean, I prefer just, like, if I go defensive, I prefer something that's like a tank. It can take hits and do damage. But, if I had to, I think Ferrothorn is basically considered a wall. Even though it can do some offensive stuff, Ferrothorn is mostly a wall. And I'm going to have to say Ferrothorn. I know a lot of people are like, oh, KillerNacho, Ferrothorn is annoying and I hate it. And I'm like, well, if you hate Tentacle Rape, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so rate, comment, subscribe, guys, and see you next time. Alright, peace.